What's up, Ed boys? It's been quite some time, but I'm back, and all of a sudden, a lot less busy. But more on that later. Today, we'll be checking out a game that hands down has the best looking execution of pixel graphics that I have ever seen. A game that I've known about for a while, but I didn't buy because I've been focusing on other things like my studies and becoming a literal slab of meat. Crying Suns is a tactical roguelike that has been praised for its graphics, music, and story, and generally criticized for its repetitiveness and lack of events. But we're not at that part of the video yet, so slow your roll, Buster Brown, and let me get there in about 10 minutes. Crying Suns has a pretty cool setting taking place in a dying universe where humans have propagated across the galaxy. The Omnis have shut down. Omnis are machines that were responsible for just about everything, ranging from holding your dick while you pee to getting the last bit of yogurt out of the container, along with other less important things such as growing food, managing population, making literally everything, and supporting the very existence of life as we know it. Human life has declined something like 99% since their shutdown, leaving clusters of systems cut off from one another. Since the Omnis also controlled the folders, which allowed for instantaneous travel across vast distances. They were also so much more superior than humans that we worshiped them as gods, and now that they're gone, the church has decided that the only way to have them return is to employ such methods as merging with the sun, killing anyone who doesn't agree with them, and saying, "Fuck it, I guess I'll die." You play as Admiral Idaho, the bravest, the sexiest, and the most qualified man to save the Empire in the event of cataclysmic collapse. And you sure as hell aren't going to let a little thing like kamikazeing into a planet 50 years ago stop you. You and your entire crew are clones, and have been cloned countless times. Joining you is the last functioning Omni, known in-game as Caliban, or what I refer to him as, what Google will look like in about 20 years. Caliban wasn't connected to the main system of machines specifically in case something like this happened. Normally, Omnis are fairly specialized, but Caliban is the Swiss Army knife of Omnis and can do many things like provide useful information, act as an encyclopedia, and he even comes with a bottle opener. He's great, except for making new Omnis. But something isn't right. Despite being able to remember things from previous clones, why can't you remember anything about your past? And why does Caliban keep encouraging me not to worry about it? All of this and more will be revealed to you once you reach the Emperor and figure out how to save the Empire. The story and campaign take place over 6 chapters, with each chapter having 3 sectors. After reaching the end of each sector, you will be faced with a boss, with the final sector containing the chapter boss. After completing a chapter, you will be rewarded by unlocking a new ship, and progression in this game really only takes place by unlocking unique crewmates that can be selected before each run. Since it's explained in the story that every time you use a folder to start a new chapter, you have to start back from square one on every ship, because your Omni can't actually jump the ship through. It can only clone and create an entirely new ship and crew from its stored data, which is basically the default ship that doesn't have any of the upgrades that you spent so long gathering. The game has quite a few events that can occur, and it's fairly similar to FTL in that regard, but there are many obvious differences between the two. When approaching certain planets, you can send expeditions down to the surface in order to gather scrap, fuel, and maybe even new officers, weapons, and squadrons. But, depending on your current officers and their current qualifications, you may find that you'll be coming back with considerably less men than you went in with. If all of your commandos die, or if your officer gets injured, then the expedition will be prematurely cancelled, and you'll receive no resources. The way I see it, you can graph the exact value of commandos over the course of the game. Early in the game, you want to preserve them as much as possible, since they'll be a great source of upgrades and materials. But as the game progresses, more and more, you'll be sending them into suicide missions, just for the fuck of it. The ship combat is also a notable difference, taking place on this hexagonal grid that can be paused for tactical decision making, or sped up if you're an absolute madman. Weapons, squadrons, and officers can be swapped out mid-battle at the cost of a small cooldown before they're effective. But, of course, you should get that stuff sorted out beforehand. Usually, there will also be randomly spawning obstacles on the battlefield, sometimes asteroids and sometimes capturable turrets. Losing ships during battle is an inevitable outcome as the game gets harder and harder. But luckily, you don't actually lose the ships when they get blown up. Instead, ships have two states, their normal state and their patch state. Ships can become patched from events, getting blown up in combat, or you can just tame them like that. Patched ships have their health capped up at 50%, and even if they're blown up again, you don't lose them. And can also be repaired at shops for a little bit of scrap. Luckily, there are many different ship types in this game, each with different layouts to suit different playstyles. The Excelsior class ship is the default one and generally is pretty balanced. Any destroyed squadrons are repaired faster, and therefore can be sent out to die even faster. The Chaos class scrapper ship is by far my favorite ship in the entire game. It really brings out my inner Oriental since my APM sits comfortably at 700 during combat. All squadrons on your ship must be patched, and if you obtain one that isn't, you'll get some scrap and they will automatically become patched. So the real and only way to play the scrapper ship is to wave assault the enemy ship since you start off with 7 boomer drones, which explode on death. You may as well just study the way Russians conducted warfare and always be tactically throwing your squadrons at the enemy battleship. The Jericho class battleship focuses on weapons that don't do any direct damage. Weapons that apply status effects start off half loaded and squadrons do 30% more damage towards enemies suffering from any status effect. But if they don't suffer from any status effect, then you do 10% less damage. The Geno class battleship specializes in stealth and guerrilla warfare. Now, imagine if you will, some trees that are in space. Now imagine those trees speaking Vietnamese, and that basically sums up the ship. If your squadrons possess cloaking capability, then they will deploy already cloaked. The first attack from stealth squadrons does significantly more damage, only with the small downside that they all have 20% less health. You know, just a small downside. The Hammer class battleship is staffed by really slow and very masochistic crew members. Your ship and squadrons are immune to any friendly fire, and when hit by direct friendly damage, get 100% DPS for 10 seconds, and always move 15% slower. All the time. How that works, I've got no fucking idea, but if anybody's got an idea on how that works, you know where to post it. The Pirate class ship says it starts you on more advantageous territory, and any neutral towers will automatically be on your side. You'll also get double capturing speed, 1 more officer slot, 4 auxiliary slots, 20% better shop prices, and the ability to only send in 8 commandos during expeditions. These ships were listed in the order that you unlock them, so I sure hope that you didn't want to play the entire game with the pirate ship since you'll already have to beat the game once to unlock the damn thing. Now, of course, these are all gross oversimplifications, because each ship varies on how much you can upgrade its weapons, its hull, its hangar, etc. Some ships can get 4 spots for weapons, while others get more slots for squadrons. Same thing goes for how many health bars you can get and how much health they start off with, as well as how many officers can support the ship in combat. But I only have so much time, so if you're curious, just go play the game for yourself. As stated before, the game itself is quite repetitive. There aren't too many events, and you'll find that many of them repeat far too often. The only real differences in combat come in when you choose different kinds of ships. Crewmates also kinda shake up the monotony a bit, but again, find the playstyle you like, and play the entire game with that ship. And, if you're feeling quite daring, crank up that difficulty to hard and have at it. Theoretically, the 7 different ships means that this game has tons of replayability, but the lack of events and their overall repetitiveness sure doesn't make it feel all that replayable. Oh yeah, the game is also on mobile, since it keeps reminding me every time I launch up the game. Some of the events are also just infuriating. Take this event for example. The station asks me if I have a very specific part to help them repair something on their station, and they'll pay me for the part. You can choose to have a random one of your squadrons become patched in exchange for whatever they'll give you. Pretty standard decision. Become a little weaker in exchange for some money. First time this decision came to me, I really kind of thought about it because I really didn't fancy breaking one of my fully functioning squadrons, but I decided to help the station anyways because you know, they needed the help, I wanted to be a nice guy, and I was gonna get some money for it. Excuse me? I guess they forgot! Okay, whatever, maybe this is just like a one-time chance roll the dice kind of thing. Bruh, fuck this event. No contacting the station afterwards, nothing. The only option you have is to jump on to the next system. What a shitty event. There are a couple more events like this in the game, but there are more excusable. Should I send a team into that prison station that's been taken over by the prisoners? Well, there are only like 3 outcomes with none of them being positive, and only one of them having your guys come back alive. Makes sense, my bad, probably wasn't a good idea in hindsight. But the other one with the station and the part, just terrible. No indication that they might screw you over, and if you try to be a good person, they just spit on your face. I haven't even mentioned all the stuff in this game, like the Omni Forges, the multiple health bars, the alerts, or the collection of Neo-N. But to be fair, there's a lot of really small stuff in this game, and if you really want to know about them, then give the game a shot. I give this game the amount of boomer drones that I sent at the enemy over the amount of extremely well animated Calibans that I forced into existence throughout all of my attempts. You already know about all that YouTube stuff, so I'll just go straight into talking about the other stuff. I'm on summer break. Hopefully, that means more videos without the long ass wait. Tell me what you want to see. More reviews? Opinions on current events? Let's plays? Streams? Just surprise you? Let me know. Please. And if you watched all the way until the very end, then just know, you are a real one. Thanks, bro.